Hello, this is Broyar, and welcome to a quick, or I say quick, it's probably going to take us a while, first impressions of the Antarctic late summer game update. Now, this truly is very much my first impressions because I've only read through like a couple of these. Like, I know that I watched the video at least that they showed. If you haven't got to see that, I recommend watching that. I'm not going to go through the video itself. I'm just going to go through the patch notes, which is why this is probably going to take a little while to get through this. So, get yourself some popcorn or something, and let's jump through this. The biggest reason I'm going through this is because there's a lot of changes, a lot of balance changes, and things like that that could make a difference on some of the rankings I put out recently, things like that, for example. So let's jump into this. Again, I'm not going to go through the video. There's a lot of good kind of details and good screenshots from the video if you want to check that. I do have the game pulled up. You can see here. I've got a I guess I just randomized Greece here, which is starting on a map that would be amazing for Mali, come to think of it. But look at all that desert. Anyway, we'll jump back and forth into the game and kind of check some things out because this is the updated game. So it does have all of the patch notes, like in the Civilopedia and stuff like that. They should all be updated there. So we can kind of do some checks on things, different things. But anyway, we'll jump right into this. Couple things to start off with. We got a couple features that apparently are for all game versions. First off, we have new and improved versions of map pins, now called map text, that includes pin icons for new specific markers, districts, etc., in addition to new grouped scrollable list of pins that were placed. Thanks to Brad Sozonia. So I'm sorry for butchering your name, for this mod inclusion. So I'm glad that they're calling out the guy that made the original mod. I think that's very, very awesome. But let's check this out real quick. Just come over here. Map tax, we'll add a tack. I guess we'll put it there. And there you go. If you've seen any of the map pin mods or anything like that, this is very familiar to you. Looks really good, really clean. It's going to have all of the normal pins that they had before, along with different district pins, a different resource pin, which is all, or I guess improvement pins, I should say. It's interesting that there's a form army. Great job. Okay, whatever. Sure. And different wonder pins and things like that. So I think this is awesome. This is really, really good to see. Like for example, we can drop down a pin for the encampment here, and we'll say, I don't know, E1. And if we say that, and then let's add another one over here. We'll say this is Acropolis one. And so apparently this is a little bit easier for us to kind of look through and see these different pins and things like that. So I think that's a huge quality of life update, and it's nothing negative to say about it whatsoever. So if we jump back over to the notes real quick, as I accidentally opened up another window here. Another one is map text search. Located on the mini-map toolbar, players can now search for map items via text search and have them highlight on the map. For example, type iron or night and includes search history, search suggestions, and go-to buttons. Apparently this is pretty full-featured. They thought about putting some way to have extra map filters that you can highlight different things, but their idea being that with this new map search, you should be able to look for, like, for example, let's go look for some incense. Incense, if I spelled that right. Search. Boom. Highlights the two incense that we have on our map. That's pretty awesome. Let's check out, example, jungle. We can search for that real quick. Okay, that didn't show up. Oh, it's rainforest. I always say it wrong. That's my problem. Rainforest. There we go. We'll check out the rainforest, search, boom, there's some rainforest. Pretty cool. Like this is pretty awesome right here. My understanding is I think you can even add in extra filters. So if I say stone on desert, I think it will. Okay, so we don't see stone on desert right now, but if I just take off the stone and say, let's say, what is this, grassland, right? Yeah, grassland. And we can find any stone that's on grassland. Yep, there you go. So combining terms will help you even fine-tune it even more, which is pretty awesome. So search thing, huge thumbs up. I mean, that's awesome, and I'm glad that they brought it out to all versions of the game, so it's not just going to be for people that have Gathering Storm. Now we get into some more of the Gathering Storm type of balance things, I believe. I think these are all... I think it would tell us if it was all game version, so I think if it doesn't tell us, then it's presumed to be Gathering Storm only. And again, we're going to take a while to go through all these. There's a lot of changes here, so hopefully this video doesn't get too long. Canada receives +1 production from mines on snow and tundra, including hills. So I was looking this up, and if I look into the Civilopedia, and we go to Canada, if I could spell it right for a second, apologize. Canada here. It actually doesn't say anything about it here. It's actually, I believe it's what this is right here. This it's under actually their leader specifically. So in snow, tundra, snow hills, and tundra hills, all mines provide +1 production, and strategic resource accumulation rate is 100%. This didn't used to say that. It didn't used to say that +1 production. So that's a huge leg up on the production side for Canada, and does help make them a bit more relevant overall. I mean, it sounds like a small change, but they're biased towards the tundra and the snow and things like that. Being able to allow them to be more have more production is really going to help them out quite a bit, I believe. Next up, we have China. Great Wall can only be pillaged, never removed. Fair enough. I mean, that's nice. +2 gold for improvement itself, and then +1 gold and +1 culture to that received for each adjacent Great Wall. Now, it says +1 and +1 here, which sounds like what it was originally. But when you actually get into the game, China, you can actually see that it is, you have the +2, but it's actually a +2 base. So it actually added +1 to what was already there, which was, again, +1. So now you're up to +2 for each adjacent. So that's going to give you up to, I don't know if it includes itself. I can't imagine it does, but it would give you at least +4 gold and +4 culture, which then that culture turns into tourism as well. So suddenly, I mean, I know I had China ranked pretty high on my culture victory list, which people, questioned. Now you got to say they're becoming a little bit more relevant in that regard as well. Not just their wonders, but even their Great Wall thing is now 4 tourism for each one of those segments, and you can have tons of those segments all across your empire. It's starting to become a little bit more of a, like I was future-proofing myself a little bit, which is not the case. I was wrong. Obviously, if they had to buff them, then obviously I was wrong. But now, potentially, my rankings are actually a little bit more accurate. So, which is completely accidental. If we come down here, Egypt, update the Egyptian chariot archer to not replace the heavy chariot. I think that's it's a nice move. I mean, why remove a whole melee unit just for you to have a ranged unit? I felt like that was a little bit of a unbalance there. So I'm glad to see that. It's not like it's gonna a drastic change, but it just allows them to still have that good heavy, melee unit in their kit, if you will. Also, the Sphinx now provides +1 culture built on floodplains, cannot be built on snow hills, tundra tiles, etc. +2 appeal, and it's back to being cannot be built next to another Sphinx. In the patch notes before this, they said it could be built next to another Sphinx, and now all of a sudden they're saying that it can't. So let's double check real quick Egypt, and we'll go to their Sphinx here, and so we'll see the culture and all that stuff there. +1 culture, +1 faith, +2 faith if next to a wonder. I mean, it looks mostly the same. You get 1 extra appeal, which don't underestimate that extra appeal. That's pretty nice. You get 1 culture if you're on floodplains. So that's a new addition. So that we did not see the culture from the floodplains before. So again, obviously that's going to translate to more tourism, things like that. And also the appeal. The appeal is going to help you get more tourism from things. So it's a pretty good change. Maybe not as significant as the China one, but still pretty solid change here. Let's jump back over here. France, Chateau now provides 1 culture for each adjacent wonder, 1 gold for each adjacent luxury resource. So if we go up here, I have some notes on what France was before. The Chateau before was 2 culture if adjacent to a wonder. So this is an additional culture if adjacent to a wonder. So if we go back over to France, I would expect it to be 3 now. 3. Now it still says 2. Which I had it down before because I have like my list of all the bonuses from before the game or before the patch. +2 culture, +2 culture if adjacent to a wonder. Now it's only +1 culture if adjacent to a wonder. Oh, interesting. Or is it the wording? Before it was +2 culture if adjacent to a wonder. So maybe it was just no matter how many wonders you were adjacent to, you only got +2. Now it's +1 culture from each adjacent wonder, so it could be more than 2, but obviously at the low end, it could be as low as 1. So, I mean, if that's the way it is, then maybe you can get 3, 4, culture from a chateau, but you'd have to have a lot of wonders for that. I kind of like the +2 culture just from being adjacent to any wonder before. I feel like that was a little bit stronger. So in a way, this feels like if you play it right, could be a buff, but more often than not, it's probably going to be a little bit of a nerf, unfortunately, unless I'm just not thinking something. Obviously, if I'm wrong with any of these, please let me know in the comments below what you think, or if I'm off base or whatever. I'm trying to go through these relatively quickly, but I'm obviously already 10 minutes in, and I've only gone through 5 lines. So I'll try and speed it up a little bit. Hungary, this is a big one. Matthias's ability now only 75% resource and gold discount to upgrading levied units instead of 100%. This is pretty significant. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a huge bonus for Hungary to be able to upgrade, the levied city-state units for a discount. But instead of being 100% discount where you could just upgrade them all, now you're going to very often become situations where you don't have enough resources to upgrade it. You don't have enough iron, you don't have enough, oil or steel or not steel, iron, oil or aluminum or whatever, maybe at the given point in time, horses, whatever it is. Also, the gold itself. You're going to have a little bit of a gold income to make sure you have enough to upgrade everything. You may have to pick and choose which units get upgraded. Some of them may not. So instead of just blanket upgrade all of them, this is obviously a decent sized nerf to Matthias here. So it is what it is. I know I didn't have him ranked super high on my domination list. This just shows me that I should have, because obviously he needed a nerf. Now he may be a little bit lower on the domination list than he was originally. I don't know how much. Probably not a ton, because it is still a pretty significant bonus he has. But he's got to drop a few notches probably with this little bit of a nerf. India, cities gain an amenity for every religion with at least one follower. Missionaries have 2 spreads, 100% religious pressure from your trade routes. This is a pretty big change, and India needed some love. India's current one is just, where is it? Receive benefits of all follower beliefs of religions present in your cities, not just the one you founded. Okay, so that's nice. But now you're going to get amenities for each religion with at least one follower. That's going to add up, especially since India does, tend to like to be a little bit tall. Missionaries have 2 additional spreads. That's really going to help your religious game quite a bit. And extra religious pressure from your trade routes. Double religious pressure from your trade routes. That's going to make your trade routes that much more valuable and really give you another way to spread religion than just spreading through your already overpowered missionaries now. This is a good buff to your missionaries. So all in all, if India wasn't a contender on the religion game before, which they kind of were, they were flirting with it quite a bit, they definitely are a contender on the religious game now. And so I think this is a good boost for India. I think they needed some love. But then you also follow that up with a bit of a nerf. The Varu ability no longer stacks, but maintenance reduced to 2. Let's see here. Varu before maintenance was... I didn't have the maintenance written down for them. But obviously, two is pretty minimal for the time period that they come in. Around that time period, you're going to see a lot more 3s and 4 gold maintenance yield. So a little bit of discount there. Yay, not a big deal. But the Varu ability no longer being able to stack is a pretty big deal. Effectively, what this becomes is as a general ability. Because all that combat is in Civilization is the difference. If I'm 30 and you're 35, our difference is I'm a -5 when I attack you, you're a +5 when you attack me. If it's 30 and 20, I'm at +10, you're a -10. Things like that. So it doesn't matter what the actual value is. It's only the difference that really matters for how much damage you do one way or the other. So the Varu being a -5 combat strength, right? Make sure I'm saying that correctly. Yeah, -5. Before it could stack. So you could take somebody from maybe a 30 combat strength, put 6 Varu around him, and suddenly he's at 0. Obviously, that sounds pretty OP, and that I can see why they would change that. Now it's just a flat 5, no matter where you're at, how many Varu you have around or whatever. It still is, a good thing, because having a Varu, just one Varu in the mix, means your archers and your other units, your swordmen and things like that, are going to benefit from that -5, because it's affecting that unit that's next to them, and everything else is going to have an additional 5. So it's basically the exact same as a general, where instead of giving you +5 for our units, you're giving -5 for all of their units. It effectively comes out to the same, except obviously you can stack this with the general. So now instead of having just a +5 from a general, you can have +5 from the general, -5 from the Varu, a net value of 10. Pretty significant. It's going to be a pretty big chunk of damage. Mali, nerf the Mali plus city-state plus democracy combo exploit. Democracy is now a 15% discount on purchases with gold. Okay, I saw this in my most recent Mali game. I felt like it was not great. It didn't feel good, to be perfectly honest, to be able to just buy units for free. There's something wrong with that. And I think I might have addressed it a little bit. I didn't really take advantage of it too much. I think there was a couple times where I bought a few units, but I would have been perfectly fine buying them at a discount. I didn't ever even use the units in my game, because my game was completely a pacifist game. But anyway, I think this is this is good. This is even good for Mali, because I think it put you in a trap where you're like, I have to have this city-state. I have to have this democracy. I have to have all these things. Those things are still going to be good for you, but it's not going to make your things completely free, which was just too much. It was too excessive. Being able to buy a giant death robot at the end of the game for nothing except for the uranium cost was definitely OP. Increased Mali desert waiting. Now this is good because we want to see Mali with lots of deserts around. They're critical to have a lot of desert around. I made do with a fairly small patch of desert in my last game, but you want to be able to make sure that they have plenty of desert around them. I don't know if this actually changes how much desert you get on the map. I don't think it would. It just maybe put them in maybe the place with the most desert, as opposed to maybe a small patch of desert or something like that. The Maori, Toa ability no longer stacks, and strength is reduced to 36. What was their strength before? Was it 40 or something? Let's see. I got the thing here. The Toa. Yep, it was 40. The Swordman normally is 36. So now it is the exact same strength as a Swordman. But it no longer has the ability that stacks. Just like the Varu, with same things. You're still going to get a negative for all the units that are around your Maori, your Toa, sorry. But you're also going to get the benefits of a positive from a general. So it is a nerf, but I think they were probably way too strong with that ability. So I think this is fine. I think this is good. Reduce the Moray ability to +1 of each bonus shield instead of +2. This is a pretty significant nerf as well. I know people were calling out that I completely missed the boat on tourism victory and culture victory with Maori. Obviously, if they had to nerf them, you're right. I completely missed it. But this brings them a lot more in line with some of the other ones. And in fact, I would not say that they are now number one for sure. I mean, I think they're in the mix. I think they're still in the top 10 probably. Again, I think I completely was wrong with where I ranked them, but I'd have to do some thinking about and do some math about where they are now, because this brings them a lot more down to earth, cutting those yields in half. So definitely something to think about. I'll have to reintroduce another culture video at some time to readdress this as well as some other things. I was already going to do one to readdress Maori. I'm glad that they went ahead and did this patch, because now it's going to be a little bit more accurate. Netherlands, add a production bonus towards flood barriers and dams. That's good. I think this is awesome. Not really game changing. You can rush the dams with your engineers. So Netherlands gets to build them a little bit faster. Maybe they don't have to use the engineers, whatever. The flood barriers are pretty expensive, and so it's good to see them get a production boost. I think it's thematic. I don't think there's anything super game-changing here. It's just a thematic nice bonus. Norway, and allow Norway only to receive science and culture from pillaging improvements in addition to gold or faith. Okay, so we haven't gotten to this yet, but they did nerf pillaging of improvements. You no longer get science or culture unless you are Norway. So it is a nerf across the board for everybody else. They only get gold or faith for everybody else. You still get, I think, science and culture if you pillage a district, I believe. I don't know that 100%, but I believe that's still the case. But the improvements themselves no longer give you those resources, again, unless you're Norway. So I think it's still kind of a cool little extra for Norway. I don't know if this is super game-changing. Maybe a little bit, maybe depending on how much you're able to take advantage of the pillaging improvements, which they do have a lot of bonuses for their units to be able to pillage. I think they're obviously their naval raider unit is able to pillage, from pretty nicely. So it's a good bonus for Norway. I don't know. Maybe it's more game changing than I think it is. I think it's good. It's a bonus for Norway. It's a buff. I think Norway needed a little bit of a buff. I think I had them pretty low overall for domination, just kind of an overall thing. So I think this puts them a little bit higher up as far as being able to get a little bit of a boost of science and culture from their pillaging, and they're going to want to. It's going to incentivize them to take advantage of that, because nobody else is able to do that. But overall, I think this is fine. I don't think this is really a huge negative for anybody in the grand scheme of things. Spain, mission +2 faith, +1 food, +1 production if on a different continent than your capital. +1 science for every adjacent campus in the holy site. Okay, so what do they used to be? Spain used to be +2 faith if on a different continent than their capital, +2 science if built next to a campus district. Okay, so it was a flat +2 for an adjacent district. Now it is a +2 for every adjacent campus and holy site. So that is, you're going to be able to, if you put it next to a campus and a holy site already, you're going to be able to get the same +2 you had before, but you might be able to stack that up to, +4 or +6, depending on what else you can put around it. So there's some potential for getting some really good science from a mission. And then +2 faith if on a different continent than your capital. Okay, so you get the addition of more food and production if on a different continent than your capital. Oh, I see what they did. Let me double check. Let's check the Civilopedia real quick, because I want to make sure I'm not maybe sometimes when they say the pluses, it kind of throws something off. Okay, it's not going to be down here. Oh, there it is, mission. Okay, so you get a flat +2 faith. Then you also get +2 faith, +1 production, and +1 food if on a different capital than your different continent than your capital. So you still have the 2 faith that they had before. They just added on the food and the production, which again the patch notes are a little bit unclear. They're a net gain, not a this is the new value. I kind of wish it would say the new value, and maybe like show in green what was already there, or maybe in green what's new, and then just kind of leave what's there, unhighlighted or something like that. But this is a net gain of +1 food and +1 production, but you already had the 2 faith, so that's still sticking around. And then all game versions improve leader victory preference weighting. Interesting. So I guess that's just going to allow the AI to prefer certain victory types over others. It'd be interesting to actually go into the data and see what they think leaders preferred victory are, because I have my list of what I think are the top victories for different civilizations. But if the default AI doesn't even think that's a viable solution, that's an interesting thought. Something to look into. I may have to look that up later. Okay, environment systems and climate change. This is some pretty big stuff here as well. Reduce dust storm yields by 33%. I personally haven't had a lot of dust storms, so I haven't been able to benefit from this. It's just a balance change. Nothing really to speak of there. It's something. Add some food yields from blizzards. Okay, I mean, again, I haven't actually had to deal with blizzards yet, so I haven't had to deal with the food yields yet. But I guess they're now increased. You have a chance for some food yields. Ugh, I cannot talk. Reduce damage to population structures from blizzards by about a third. Okay, sounds like a good change. It sounds like they might have been a little bit too impactful. Again, I haven't had to deal with that, but there you go. Detach climate change progress from natural disaster intensity slider. I think this is a great addition, because I would love to play on maximum natural disasters, but if suddenly my entire world is flooding by turn 100 and I'm like not even close to being able to get up some defenses, the flood barriers and things like that kind of just ruins things a little bit. So I'm glad that they detached this. Plus, they remove percentage of coastal tiles that can flood from 35% to 40%. So there's actually more tiles that can flood now. Okay, fair enough. I know it's down here somewhere in a minute, but we're going to get to that in a minute. But they... here it is. Oh, no, this isn't it. There's somewhere in here they're going to talk about the flooding being a little bit slowed down as well. And that might just be what this was. This slows down the flooding rate quite a bit. In fact, I think they said it's a pretty significant change to how quickly things flood now, so that you are able to get further into the late game before you have to worry about the flooding, which does mean that you can take advantage of those flood barriers and things like that to protect the tiles that you do want to protect. Have carbon emissions from units to slow down climate change to just over half the previous state. Again, another way to just slow down that climate change and slow down the flooding. This is good as well. Reduce unit CO2 emissions for a player by 50% if they research advanced power cells. That's pretty cool. Another way to reduce your CO2 emissions. I like that. Increased chance of storms and droughts per degree of temperature rise is no longer 20% for all events. Now it does not increase chance of weaker type of each storm drought at all, but instead boosts stronger type by 50%. Ah. So it doesn't just increase the frequency now. Now it's actually going to increase the intensity. That's pretty cool. I like that. From phase 4 on, floods and storms will not add fertility. Makes sense. If you're getting really, really bad floods, really, really bad storms, they should only be negatives at that point on, I think. I don't think that them continuing to add fertility and be a positive in any way. I think that does seem a little bit... This seems better thematically. At phases 5 and above, yields previously added to the map can be stripped off as storms and droughts pass over. Oh, wow. So now the really severe or really high, high level storms and floods at the highest level phases actually can get rid of with the bonuses that you got earlier in the game. Interesting. Allow a single player CO2 footprint to go negative if they have run the carbon recapture project but never generated much carbon. Hence, one player can clean up the other player's... What? Interesting. That is... Okay, so what that tells me is that if you want to make the CO2 really bad to flood my tiles, I have a way to reverse what you're doing and make it where it's less likely that you're able to affect me in a negative way just because you're bad on CO2. Okay, maybe. Okay. I mean, it's interesting. I haven't really dealt with this too much in my games yet, but it's definitely an interesting thing to bring in. All right, so World Congress. Provide a one-time cap on each player receiving favor for reviving each other major player. Oh, okay. So if you revive them, if you bring them back into the game, there's a cap now. Okay, fair enough. Again, I haven't had to deal with that yet. Adding tooltip to tiebreaker scenarios so players can understand why a player won a tiebreaker. Okay, that's good. It's always good to have a tooltip to give you more information if there is a part that's unclear. That's a positive change. Adding favor per turn and request for aid score penalties for excessive grievances and CO2 emissions. Ooh. So if you get a lot of CO2 emissions and a lot of grievances, you're actually going to get less favor per turn and less request for aid score. Interesting. Okay, fair enough. Climate Accords competition now enables projects for decommissioning power plants. Okay, good. I mean, that's just another nice little change. Reducing the lockout timer on a hostile emergency so that they can show up slightly more often. I like this. I like, more emergency things like that. Just kind of adds a little bit more of a dynamic to the game. I think that's fine. Reduce time between deals during request for aid emergencies so AI can give multiple gifts if desired. And I just realized that this is really small font, so let me jump that up a little bit. I apologize for that. Hopefully you guys can see that. I apologize if you haven't been able to see it this entire time. Hopefully now this makes it a little bit easier. I should have bumped that up a long time ago. I was looking over my recording. I'm like, wait a minute, that's a really tiny font. I play on a very large screen, so it shows up nicely for me just as is. Sorry. Anyway, back to where I was at. World Congress. Okay, reduce time between deals during request for aid emergency so AI can give multiple gifts if desired. Okay, that's fair. I think that's allow the AI to contribute to the request for aid a little bit better. I think there's always good that comes from making the AI just a little bit better. Districts and district buildings. Reducing, this is where I was at, right? Yes, okay. Reducing power of Royal Society government district building. Reducing percentage per builder charge from 3 to 2. Oh, interesting. Okay, no, that's fair. I mean, I just was able to take advantage of this quite a bit in my Mali game, but this will just make it, a little bit less impactful. It's still good. It's still really strong to be able to rush build things at the end of the game with your builders, but let's just nerf them, a bit. What is it, about a 33% nerf? So it's 66% of what it was, I guess. Which I guess that makes it you lost a 33% of what you had. Math's hard when you go back and forth. Sorry. Anyway, it's going to take you 50% longer is the other way to look at that. To 50% more builders to rush through something than it did before. There we go. Yay, math. Nuclear accidents of any severity will now always pillage the nuclear power plant. Okay, fair enough. Pillaging. All game versions convert science and culture from pillaging improvements to gold or faith. We talked about that earlier with Norway. You can no longer get science or culture from pillaging improvements. There you go. Reduce effectiveness. Wow. Reduce effectiveness of raid and total war policies so they are only 50% instead of 100% to pillaging. Okay, so just less effective overall. Fair enough. Dam districts now provides healing if plundered. That's good. It's a nice little extra little bump of healing. We can always pillage farms for healing. Now you can pillage the dam. No problem with that. Pillage reactors cannot trigger a nuclear accident. Completing the recommissioned nuclear project will also unpillage it. I like this part. This is nice. Not being able to trigger a nuclear accident sounds good because obviously if you're on top of it and you're the unit that pillaged it, you obviously don't want that to blow up in your face, quite literally. So that makes sense. Seastead cannot be placed adjacent to another seastead. Okay, this is a decent sized nerf. As you can see, if you watch any of my Mali game or even my Phoenicia game, any of the recent games I've had, that have a lot of ocean tiles, I use the seasteads a lot. And so this is a pretty big nerf to that. And I think probably justifiably so because they were pretty strong, to be fair. Wonders. Panama Canal Wonder now gives plus 10 gold to its city. Nice little boost. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, it was already, pretty cool and kind of fun wonder. But now that it gives some gold, it makes it a little bit more worthwhile just to build it, even if you don't really care about the canal portion of it, if you will. Mahabodhi Temple and Statue of Liberty now award diplomatic victory points. Oh, wow. That's pretty big. That gives you a couple ways to get some diplomatic victory points earlier in the game. Presumably, let's actually go look at the game real quick. I assume it's only one apiece. Mahabodhi Temple. It is 1 victory point for that, yes. And then statue. Oh, that's 2. Wow. So if you were able to build both of those, that's 3 more diplomatic victory points you can get earlier in the game, which is really going to speed up the diplomatic victory quite a bit if you're one of the ones that's able to get one of those out. That's pretty nice. I like that change. I felt like the diplomatic victory was a little bit slow, and giving a couple more wonders that can give you a way to get some points is always good. Increase the cost of upgrading units. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I mean, I already saw in my Mali game a point where, obviously with the low cost, even before I got down to 0 cost for buying a brand new unit, when it was just reduced cost, it was just cheaper for me as Mali to buy a brand new unit of the new level than to upgrade a unit. And so at that point, it becomes you only upgrade the units that have some promotions. You know, you don't bother with the other ones. It may still be the same way. It may actually become more of a thing for some of the other civilizations, especially if they get, you know, the democracy and things like that bonuses. Even though they're nerfed a bit, it may get to a point where, is it better just to buy a brand new unit or is it better to upgrade? I don't know. I kind of hope that upgrade other than Mali always is better. But I could see a situation where unless the unit's promoted, you just don't bother upgrading it at that point. It's just cheaper to buy or just more you know, reasonable to buy it straight up. Who knows? We'll have to look at the cost when we actually get into the game because I'll have to check that out in the next playthrough that I have. Reduce the base cost of naturalists from 800 to 600 to make them better compete with rock bands. I like this, I guess. I mean, I didn't use a lot of naturalists because it's, in my opinion, kind of hard to find places for national parks, but national parks, I should say. But I think, you know, making them a little bit cheaper, it makes sense. Update certain great generals and admirals to provide strategic resources. Ooh, I like this. Gives you a reason to get those generals and admirals, even if you aren't going to use them militarily. You know, you want to use them just to get some strategic resources. I think that's always a positive. Make sure barbarians can't spawn GDRs. What? Barbarians could spawn GDRs? Oh, that's a little scary. As I mentioned, if you saw my Mali game at all, and you may not have, a GDR unpromoted can one-shot any land unit in the game unpromoted. Like any other land unit, you know, just by itself, it is enough points. And once you get past, I think, 36 strength over the next highest or something like that, you are then able to guaranteed one-shot no matter what. There's a little bit of RNG with how much damage you do, but that actually guarantees even if you have the worst luck possible, the GDR is just that strong. They are so strong that they can just destroy anything. So the idea that barbarians ever could get GDRs is a frightening thing, and I almost wish I could have seen this once, at least once, just to see how incredibly scary that would have been. Anyway, unsuccessful WMD attacks now consume the WMD. This makes sense. I've had games where I was able to launch an attack, I got intercepted by a fighter, but I kept the WMD and I was able to try again at a different city somewhere else or things like that. Or even with a completely different bomber in a different city, the same WMD. So I think this is a good change, to be honest. All game versions increase the destroyer's sight range to 3. I like that. It's going to help you make it easier for you to spot, you know, submarines and things like that. I think this is a good change. Air unit and anti-air unit combat strength balance change propagated to base game. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so they did increase the strength of air units and presumably anti-air units as well in Gathering Storm. I guess this is now just going to make that for the base game as well, which, you know, that's good. I think air units needed some love. There you go. City-states. Add walls to city-states on Deity and Immortal games. Oh, wow. Wow, okay. This is not insignificant. This is a big change. A lot of times, city-states, not just for you, but even the AI, you're able to jump in there into a city-state and just take advantage of the fact that they didn't have walls and just nuke them down with whatever podunk, you know, barbarian, you know, not barbarian, but warrior and slingers you had available, you know, because they had low strength. They didn't have walls or anything like that. Now, this doesn't necessarily say that they're going to have walls from the beginning of the game. I don't know if they will or not. We can actually check that out real quick. Let's check. I'm just going to put a city down. We're going to choose some research real quick. And what I'm doing now is trying to advance one turn into the game. All right, whatever. Just if we can find a city state, cool. But I'm going to advance one turn, and then I'm going to reveal... make sure I didn't see one already. We will reveal all. Is it that? Oh, that didn't work. What is the command? I don't remember what the command is all of a sudden. Apparently, I'm not going to show this. Reveal. Show all. Show all. Huh, apparently, I don't remember what the command is. Never mind. I'm not going to show that. We're going to show you if we can find one real quick, because I would like to know what this is. Come on, city state. There's got to be one down here somewhere, right? What is the reveal all? Let me double check. Sorry. I'm going to look up Civ 6 reveal all. I use it all the time. I don't know why I'm suddenly just forgetting what it is. I'm probably misspelling something. Reveal all. Oh, there we go. I guess it needs to be capitalized. Or maybe I was misspelling it. I was probably misspelling it. Alright. Good enough. Alright, let's check out the city. Okay, so they don't have walls yet, so I'm guessing they have to be certain, advanced certain ways into the game to get the walls, which makes sense. I mean, for them to start off with walls from the very, very, very beginning would obviously be a bit too strong. So there is still a chance for you to get some lower level units over there and take these city-states out before they can get leveled up a bit. But I say that, and I like how it's got all these stone highlighted. It's awesome. I say that, but at what point do they get walls? I mean, what is their trigger for walls? I wonder. I have to see that. Probably have to see it in an actual game being played out in order to understand what's going on there. But whatever the case is, on deity. I'm not on deity. I started a game just crazy. Just was like, whatever. Start a game real quick. I am not on deity. Let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and I'll probably cut this part out, but I'm going to go ahead and jump into a deity game real quick. All right, we're back into the game. Just spawn in as India, but we are on deity difficulty. And as you can see, you got Valletta, Rapa Nui. All of these cities have walls now. So yeah, so on immortal and deity difficulty, they're going to have walls, it's a pretty significant change, as I was expecting. It's going to make it harder for you to just grab them randomly and just kind of take advantage of that. But it also means that they're going to stay alive longer, which is one of the concerns I had about Hungary. Honestly, I always felt like city-states were just too weak. They were always, susceptible to just dying out early in the game to just random civilization, things like that, which is why I ranked Hungary pretty low. This is going to make it that much more likely that most of the city-states are still going to be alive past the early game, in time for you to be able to start kind of building up some envoys with them, things like that. Whether you're Hungary or Greece or anybody like that. So this is a good change, I think, making city-states a little bit more relevant, a little bit stronger. And of course, add additional melee units to city-states at higher difficulties. We can see that as well. You can see here 5 warriors right there. 5 warriors. Apparently, Inca has not settled yet, even though I'm 1 turn into the game. 5 warriors. So I guess it looks like they just start with 5 here on deity. That's a lot of warriors. You are not going to an AI civilization, nor are you going to just jump over and be able to just take out a city-state without some effort now. This is a pretty significant change. It's actually going to make people like Germany, jump out a little bit more because he does get a bonus to attacking city-states. And so now that the city-states are going to be stronger on the higher difficulty levels, it means that his bonus is going to be, maybe even that much more relevant, which is good to see as well. I wouldn't say necessarily it's a buff to Germany. It's just maybe add some relevance to his buff. But yeah, city-states are going to be alive. In fact, I would be surprised if you see city-states go down within the first, 15, 20 turns, like we almost always do. You always get those notifications say, that city-states have gotten destroyed, things like that. It's going to take some effort to get through these. Now, don't get me wrong. The AI civilizations, the major civilizations, they also start with quite a few units as well, as you can see here. But it's basically even with the city-states. So I think this is a solid, good change. I'm happy to see it. Because again, I like city-states. I like them being in the game. I don't mind taking them out every once in a while when it becomes a thing. And if you have one of those civilizations that needs to take them out, so be it. But this is awesome. All right, miscellaneous grievances, warmongering, change of grievance calculation, and warmongering base and XP1 to treat cities taken offensively during a defensive pact, suzerain war, emergency war as if taken during a formal war. Now generates grievances. Goodness, I can't talk. Oh, XP1. XPAC 1. Okay, I was like, what is XP1? XPAC 1. Okay, in base and XP1. Okay. So they're taking the grievance thing down to the base and the XPAC 1. Okay, perfect. Setup. For advanced starts, add extra faith and scale it. Okay, I don't usually do a lot of advanced starts. In fact, I don't know if I've ever done an advanced start. But, cool. I'm glad. It's good to see that they kind of give them some love. XP1, XP2, track barbarian camp placement throughout the game, much like we do storms and droughts, and shy away from camp locations that are close to previously used spots. Should just distribute camps across the continents better. This is cool. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily game breaking, but it's nice to see that they're going to distribute the barbarians a little bit better. They're not just going to, you cleared one out, and then as soon as you get out of line of sight, they suddenly pop another one up in the exact same spot. That could be a little bit annoying sometimes. So a little better distribution is nice. We got some multiplayer stuff. I'm not really going to jump into the multiplayer stuff. I don't really personally play a lot of multiplayer, so you can pause it real quick if you haven't had a chance and kind of read this real quick if you want. And then scenarios, you can play the Black Death scenario in Hot Seat Play by the Cloud. If you're watching this, earlier in the week after this patch notes just launched, you can see me play Black Death later in the week. I'm not going to spoil anything, but let's just say Black Death is really, really hard. So that might be too much spoilage, but let's just say that Black Death is really hard. But anyway, it's good to see, I guess, that they're going to add it to the hot seat. It's always good to have more things in their systems. Add secondary color to jersey selection color collision detection. That's kind of a mouthful. Now jerseys are only considered to have collided if both primary color and secondary color collide. Jerseys with similar or identical primary colors are now allowed if the secondary colors are very different. I guess. I mean, I'd like it. I'm okay with the secondary colors obviously being similar. The primary colors being similar, though, even though the secondary colors might be different. Like if you have a red with a white or a red with a green, I still feel like they're both red, and I feel like that's going to cause some confusion. So I guess this is okay. I mean, I guess they seem to think it works out better. I kind of like being completely different, but whatever. Honestly, it doesn't change the gameplay at all. It just gives you more incentive to take out the person that has the exact same primary color as you. So there you go. UI, Greatworks UI, converted system to drag and drop. Okay, that's good. I'm not going to advance far enough to the game to see that, but drag and drop, like it. Just a UI, UX type of change type of thing. So perfect. Climate overview, add icon tooltip for fertilized tiles lost due to weather events. Okay, just more information to help you see things better. That's good. Civilopedia, pillaging yields are now database driven in the Civilopedia. Okay, interesting. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I guess the Civilopedia is more accurate now. There you go. All game versions, World Resource Report. Added sorting on resources and on the leaders in a row. Add sorting on resources on leaders in a row. World Resource Report. Let's go into that. See what that's talking about. Nope, wrong button. World Resources. Is that this one? Is that what some of this stuff is? I mean, I guess we haven't met actually players yet, which is weird. Or maybe they don't have resources yet. Whatever. I don't think that's this one, is it? No, that's not that one. We have to check that out into an actual game later. That's fine. Additional general bug fixes and polish. Cool. We obviously don't know what that means, but they fix things. There you go. AI. Okay, obviously AI is definitely one of probably the bigger complaints that people tend to have a lot about Civilization, that the AI is just a little too easy, and I could see that for sure. So any tweaks to the AI, I think, are almost always a good thing. So let's see what they got here. Trade increases value of diplomatic favor. Limit number of items desired in a trade. Set minimum value for traded items. Okay, a lot of this is fine. I like a lot of this. It's going to make it less likely for you to just game the system a little bit and take advantage of the AI being a little silly with trades. Increasing the value of diplomatic favor, I think, is a good thing. It was very easy to get a lot of diplomatic favor from the AI for just silly things. So I think this is fine. Don't try to trade more of a luxury resource than the human is already importing. Oh, okay. I guess maybe this is a way to make it where if I'm already importing something, they're going to try and trade it to me again, which helps me be a little more secure that what they're trying to give me is fresh and new to me. Maybe that's more of a that sounds like more of a quality for me than the AI, so that's fine. Correctly value maintenance resources when calculating trades. Reduces possible exploits with resources for gold trades with the AI. Okay, so I'm sure there was a way to exploit where you took all of their oil or took all of their gold, or not gold, all their oil, all their steel, I keep saying steel, all their iron, all their horses, things like that, and just left them in a place where they couldn't maintain their units anymore. because you gave them enough gold for it. And I could see how that was definitely an exploit. So I'm glad that they fixed that. Fixes to trades for strategic resources. Stop paying full value for them when you've got a decent stockpile, not just at the stockpile cap. Okay, again, this is just an exploit fix for taking advantage of the AI being kind of dumb sometimes. AI will not pay for banned resources. Fair enough. Reduce the chance the AI offers only a single strategic resource in a trade deal unless they are padding out a larger deal. Reduces the chance that they offer only a single strategic resource. Okay, that's fair. What would you ever do with a single strategic resource? I think this is fine. Improvements to AI deal management with gold. Fair enough. Expect 1, expect 2. Fix an issue where AI was overvaluing great works on the turn they are created. Yes, thank you. I have complained about this so many times. In fact, I don't know if it's in here anywhere, but I wish there was a way to flag great works and say, stop trying to trade with me. I don't want to ever trade this thing. But maybe this will do enough of that. So good stuff. Victory strategies and agendas. Boost wonder-obsessed AI's desire for wonders in late eras. Boost wonder-obsessed AI's desire for wonders in late eras. Okay. Fair enough. I guess they're just going to be more likely to build some of the later game wonders. Fair. That's fair. Improve victory strategies, including diplomatic victory. I like that. I mean, you always want to see them improving their strategies from the AI standpoint. Improve AI ability to successfully complete the capture of a city during a military emergency they are taking part in. That's good. I've actually seen them run into it where it's like, you're right there. Why can't you just capture this and finish this military emergency? But they don't. So improving that, it's always good. Embarked units know they are under threat from naval units. Improve protection of units while on city assault. Good. It was always too easy to pick away the embarked units. It was just, they're always there. They're always going to leave them hanging and allow you to just blow them up, some high value, advanced rocket artillery or something like that, that you're like, okay, I know eventually you're going to put it in the water unprotected. Let me just blow it up then. It's a lot easier. I guess this is going to take a little bit of that away. Expect 1 improvement. Okay, I'm not going to read that because we're obviously in expect 2 now. Here's one. Fix an issue where an AI unit garrisoning a city would occasionally leave the protection of the city when they didn't need to, exposing them to attack. Fair enough. Just make them a little bit smaller. They're smarter, I should say. All game versions. AI more strongly prefers attacking with aircraft to deploying to districts. Okay, I get it. Instead of just having all their aircraft just laying around everywhere, they're actually going to use them to attack with. I like it. That's fine. Miscellaneous. Fixed an issue that was making the AI less likely to improve strategic resources. Really? Well, that definitely sounds like an issue. I'm glad they fixed that. Avoid advancing your power plant if you don't have resources for it. Very smart. That's probably something that even players should make sure they're careful with. Increase odds of aggressive civs making encampments. Okay, fair enough. Expect 1, expect 2. Reduce value of supply convoys. They were heavily overhauled by AI. Or overvalued, sorry, by AI. Okay, I can see that. I've seen a lot of supply convoys, things like that in place, so I think that's fine. All game versions, minor civs will no longer make aircraft carriers since they can't make aircraft. Really? That's funny to think about, but yeah, there you go. That's a good thing. All right, so now we got performance increases, additional AI and rendering performance improvements. Good. I mean, it's always good to have performance improvements. There's nothing wrong with that. Bugs. Okay, here's where we get to some things that maybe weren't even apparent sometimes, or maybe they were, and that's definitely something that quite literally bugged you. Phoenicia. Fix non-capital continent bonuses moving properly for Phoenicia. This is good. This may mean that the wonder that we had in Phoenicia, I forget the name of it off the top of my head all of a sudden. Let me find it actually. Go back to our Civ game. What was it? I don't remember the name of it. Wow, I'm mind blanking the name. It's not the Casa. It is. Apologies, I should have remembered this. Okay, wow. How am I not remembering the name of this thing? Oh no, it's this one. It's the Casa. I'm sorry, it is the Casa. Yeah. Okay, yeah. All your cities on your non-home continent with a governor gain 15% production, 15% faith, and 15% gold. We noticed that in our Phoenicia game that this was not taking into effect after we built it and then we moved our capital, and it was no longer taking into effect at that point. I suspect, now obviously we'll have to get into a game to prove it, I suspect that this will fix some of that not being calculated properly, which obviously helps a lot. Cree, Poundmaker's trade route UA, which is based on tile improvements at the destination city, now works like it used to back in XP1. Okay, I obviously haven't played Kree in XP2, so I did not know that this was broken. It's always good to fix things like that. Maori, mana ability was incorrectly being applied to all units. Really? So their mana ability. Maori. Mana ability. What is their mana ability? Oh, it's this one right here. Begin the game with selling shipbuilding technologies unlocked with the ability to enter ocean tiles. Embarked units gain +2 movement. Oh, was it this part of it? The embarked units gaining +2 movement. Was that being applied to all units? Are you serious? That is, as opposed to just embarked units, maybe? If that's the case, because again, I haven't had a chance to play as Maori yet either. That's a pretty big bug. Wow. Anyway, Ottomans. Ibrahim is in some situation was not able to be moved to another capital. Cool. It's good to see that fixed. Congo now correctly is awarded benefits from founder beliefs. Mavemba now cannot get the intolerant agenda. Oh, because this is a religious agenda, so that makes sense. But also being correctly awarded the founder benefits. That's part of his thing. I mean, it's a key part of his bonuses. So if that was not working correctly, it's a pretty big negative. So I'm glad they fixed that. Policies. Check for obsolete policies after awarding free civics. Bolshoi. Okay. Check for obsolete policies after awarding free civics. I'm not sure if I'm understanding what that's saying. I mean, obviously we got the Bolshoi here, which I think just awards you some civics, right? 2 randomly chosen free civics when completed. So this, after rewarding it, it checks for obsolete ones. Oh, wait, no, I don't know if I understand this one. I'll be honest. Okay, whatever. We'll skip over it. It's a bug fix. Yay. Many fixes to code that controls what is expelled during city flips, capture, trade, etc. On city transfer, all air units that do not belong to the new owner that are based in a district or improvement are immediately rebased prior to any other expelling of other units. This is good. As far too many times I've seen air units just abandoned in the middle of my own territory. Like, that's my enemies. It's like, really? I mean, usually I could just blow them up with my own walls that I just took from them, which is weird, but this is a good change. If the city is flipped to a new culture, default placement rules apply. No units are booted out except stationed air units unless they can't be in the new owner's territory. Oh, it's flipped. I'm sorry. I was trying to understand what this was saying. Flipped to a new culture as opposed to just being conquered. Hence, for example, what is her name in England? Wow. I've been reading too many things today. I'm going to feel really stupid not remembering her name all of a sudden. Eleanor. Obviously, when she's able to flip a city as quickly as she is, everybody's able to flip cities, but obviously she's the one that can flip them probably quicker than just about anybody. That is going to be helpful to make sure that that's taken into account. She's able to flip them so much quicker, I guess is the big thing. She can flip them immediately as opposed to other people flipping them to a free city first. So it probably has more application to her than anybody else. If the city is transferred in a deal, only friendly units, non-air, traders, and spies can stay. Okay, fair enough. Units, movement, and combat. Fix a bug caused when trying to form an army with a unit that has no movement remaining. Okay, I didn't know that was a bug, but there you go. Don't factor in embarked and amphibious combat penalties for air units. That would make sense. Embarked and amphibious air units. Gotta love them. I mean, anyway, we're not going to go there, but that's funny. Technically, obviously, air units can land on the water, so in a way, they could be embarked, but that's not represented in the game. Obviously, it's just in real life. You can have air units on water, but sorry, I'm digressing. Don't let the players select other players' air units. I didn't know that was a thing. Cool. Fix an issue that was causing unit cycling to pull camera away from user when they were doing things like changing citizen assignments in that city. Okay, I might have seen that, but just not really paid attention to it. Don't add mountain tunnel entrances, exits on water tiles. That sounds like a really smart thing to do. Don't let an embarked builder engineer create an adjacent improvement on a land tile. Okay, fair enough. You have to be on land to be able to create a land tile improvement. Makes sense. Remove mountain tunnel entrance and exit if the tile submerges. Oh, I was like, if the tile submerges, how's the mountain going to submerge? The tile next to it, like the one where the exit actually goes to. If that submerges, you'll remove the entrance and exit. Okay, that makes sense. Don't let naval units use tunnels. That's hilarious that they could ever use tunnels. I didn't see this in the game, but that's really funny if that was ever a thing. Carriers air units rebasing. Added additional checks to rebasing aircraft to make sure they are properly paired in cases where a carrier unit exists in a city center. Okay. Correct some visualization issues with air unit rebasing. I like that. When a tile is annexed by a player, it is trying to kick out any other players that shouldn't be there. And it is trying to kick out any players that shouldn't be there. Don't assume that all of the air units can't be there. They might be able to stay. Fair enough. Also do the kick out in 2 stages so that if units do have to leave, any parent objects are moved first, then child objects, so the child objects can just go to where the parent is, for example, aircraft carrier. Okay, that makes sense. Civilopedia. Remove a page from the Civilopedia's trade route game concepts, which referred to a base benefit that was moved in XPAC 1 and XPAC 2 and made into a governor bonus instead. Fair enough. Update Sweden's capitals in the Civilopedia to be Swedish instead of Norwegian. That makes... What? That's funny. I'm sorry, but that's funny if that was a thing. Wow. Anyway, UI. Golden Age UI will fail to display on the status bar when transitioning into the future era during a Gathering Storm gameplay. Okay. Fix an extremely large amount of space being added for tooltips from point. Okay. UI now properly updates upon completion of the recommissioned nuclear reactor project. All game versions, several color systems fixes. Okay. I'm actually going to skim through the rest of these. We're getting pretty long in the video, about an hour long now. So let me just skim through this, see if anything else just jumps out at me. Treat incoming gifts as incoming demands to allow the user to modify them. Okay. Player. Okay, so there's some resourcing issues. Makes sense. Multiple World Congress issues. Fix an overflow. This is interesting. That some players noticed when they had large amounts of gold and completed Big Ben, which gives a 50% gold bonus. Apparently, true to civilization's roots of, if you know anything about how India, why there's a joke about Gandhi being nuke happy, is that, you know, certain values can be overflowed to where they rotate back around and they flip to the overflow, literally flip back around. So I guess in this case, if you had, I don't know, 250,000 gold, probably 255 something, whatever, you know, might be probably I don't know exactly what the bit rate of the value holding the gold was, but if it was at a certain value and you gained that extra 50%, it would roll over and probably give you back down to like 1,000 gold or something crazy like that. Fix an issue with Apadana where user was not granted 2 envoys when okay, that makes sense. That's good. Fix Panama, sometimes not lining up with neighboring canals. Perfect. Grievances now decay between dead civilizations. Interesting. Districts. Fixed a bug preventing nuclear reactors from being removed from the game when a city is raised. Really? Okay, well, that's good to see. Bump it up a dum. Anything else here? I don't think so. Improve performance of aggregate updates for the Hall of Fame. Yay. I actually like the Hall of Fame. It's pretty cool, but I guess I haven't seen the performance issues yet. Apparently these had a 0% chance of them showing up. Well, I'm glad they fixed that because those sound like some cool improvements to see. Make sure coastal lowlands don't appear inland near lakes. I guess that makes sense. Plantations should not show up as a potential build in the Black Death scenario. Anything else here? Fixed issues with the road and railroad spaghetti. That's good. I mean, it was getting a little bit crazy with seeing the roads and railroads all over each other. I wish there was a way to automate the railroad a little bit more, but they have not announced that at this time. When sending your first real envoy to a city-state, but you already have Amani in the city-state giving you virtual envoys there, correctly award a second base bonus envoy from the Diplomatic League policy. That's good. I like that. Crash issues, exploits. All game versions. Re-enable Shift plus Enter to force in turn. Make sure that production overflow is lost if this is used. Sounds like a good way to fix an exploit. Coastal raids can no longer target impassable plots. In Gathering Storm, this loophole allowed naval units to raid a mountain improvement without actually pillaging it, allowing continuous gold. Oh, wow. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a bad exploit. Great generals that can transform a military unit into a corps or army can no longer do so for GDR, which is now allowed to be a corps or army. Okay. Yeah, a GDR corps or army would be ridiculously insane. So I'm glad they fixed that. Correct exploit where player could receive duplicate luxuries by trading it away, removing the improvement, then rebuilding it for a duplicate copy. Wow, that takes some thought to figure out. I'm not the kind of person that really likes to do exploits, so I don't usually find these types of things or take advantage of them most of the time. So I'm glad to see that they fix these as they find them. Some modding stuff. I mean, if you're interested in modding, I think modding is awesome. I like to see mods. I don't usually use a lot of them, but as a software programmer, I can definitely respect people that do mods, and there's some very impressive mods, especially when you get a mod that's good enough to get actually put into the main base game, like the little pin mod, which is awesome. But yeah, I'll just let you pause this if you want to read any of these, or you can obviously go to the website and read it yourself. Art, anything here that I care about? Fixing the unit colors for the Fez city-state. I didn't know they were ROG. Yay. Tweaking the unit colors for Japan and Mapuche to match the Civ jerseys a bit better. Okay. Add beards to all remaining leaders that did not previously have beards. Sounds good. Obviously, this is a joke. I think Ed Beach said that they just put that in there to see if anybody actually read the patch notes. So that's funny. Maybe, even though the patch notes came out today, maybe this is a little bit of a nod of the cap to April Fools from yesterday as well, but that's hilarious. Tweak the Civ icon backing texture that is used, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Well, that's all the notes. Obviously, I skipped over a few. Already an hour long on this video, which is insane. I don't usually go this long, but there's just so many notes here. Please let me know what you think about any of these patch notes in the comments below, where you think they are, they're good now, where they messed up, where like, oh man, they broke the Civ now, or they fixed the Civ, yay, things like that. I think I like a lot of the balance changes that they made. Again, as I said, people called me out on ranking Maori and low on culture and Hungary low on conquest, which the fact that they had to have a nerf shows you that I did in fact rank them too low, because if they had to be nerfed, they were obviously pretty high. So it's interesting to see those balances. Let me know what you think about those type of balances specifically. I like to see China, Egypt, and France getting a little bit of a buff maybe in some ways, which helps them out a little bit. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with these patch notes. I don't think there's anything here that's just like, oh man, why did they do that? So I'm pretty happy with, I think, these changes. So again, let me know what you think. I appreciate you watching this. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and see more of these videos, especially some of the upcoming ranking videos that I'm going to have. I'm going to have to take a step back and reanalyze my rankings a little bit. It's going to take me a little bit while to get the next video out, because I got to absorb all of these changes and things like that, and really kind of sit down. Plus, I'm trying to be a little bit more mathematical about my rankings. So I will get more rankings out, but they will not be right away. So you have to be patient with me. I apologize for that, but there will be more to come. But yeah, please subscribe if you haven't, so you can see when those ranking videos come out, and like this video or dislike it, I guess. Although I'm just reading through patch notes, so I don't know how much there is to dislike unless you dislike the patches. I get the patch notes, which I guess is fair. Thank you again, and I hope you join me again next time. Goodbye.